How are you? We had a bit of a problem with the last podcast, the third one.
Is this when I cried?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was epic.
What's your thoughts on it?
I think that was the first podcast crisis we had. We were even thinking about what to do with this take, but so we had three events coming together. One was birthday, one was my foot cramp, and the third was like the general direction of the podcast.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. For me, I'm just like, yeah, it happened. I cry a lot in general, so.
I know. But I think we found a good solution when we both agreed, because I think I came from my workout, so I was a bit too enthusiastic, and then I was reading a bit on like stuff from my work, and so I felt so like, I have to tell it to the world, and I want to have more like this factual knowledge, more info, and then you said you want to have more like conversational topics, right?
Yeah, so I guess it was like a bit of, difference in what we expect from the podcast, and that just requires some communication to figure out. I think my problem with these very factual podcasts is that I really have to do my research beforehand. And I have this huge fear that I'm going to be giving false information out, or that I'll just look like an idiot, and then someone will be like, yeah, you said that wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to happen no matter what, but I don't want to be put in that position where I'm the one who's responsible for delivering information when I don't know for a fact if whether I'm saying is right or not. That's why I feel more comfortable giving just more of an opinion on things, or just having, talking about things that are more about what my experience is rather than me telling people how it is, how to do things. And I'm still figuring things out, so I don't want to give people this impression that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to do like the second stuff you should know. We want to have some maybe material that we find interesting, but then also we want to have 50-50 more like a conversational part on who we are, what we are struggling with, or what we are dealing with, why we are joyful or not, and also like this general theme that runs through our lives since we are together now for almost 5 years.
What general theme?
Yeah, the multicultural theme that we are in Germany from different backgrounds, and I think that this is mostly interesting to people. Like how also what do you think about Germany, and how when you feel homesick, for instance, how do you deal with that? How we are, how our work experience affects us, or our daily life, so that we have something that we can really share in Germany, but also trying to make it. You wanted to make it for your friends. But I think that we have interesting lives and interesting stories that would also maybe be interesting to other people as well.
I guess so. I think one thing that that's kind of been on my mind lately is just that whenever I slowly started telling people about the podcast, and then it's normal because people kind of throw jokes around that everybody's making podcasts, and that is true. It's how everybody's trying to start a YouTube channel, everybody's trying to become a Twitch streamer, everybody's trying to start a podcast. So it really becomes this oversaturated world of people trying to stand out. And that's why for me, I'm like, well, I do have unique experiences, but it's not like, I think I should just do what I think is important to me rather than trying to cater to other people, because if I just try to cater to other people, then eventually I'm going to lose interest in what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't know. right now, I don't know. I don't even know what I want right now. I'm kind of in a allergy hangover right now.
What happened? Like, how is your allergy affecting your mood, or what? Maybe you can just quickly tell what happened, like yesterday and
I'm
today.
just exhausted. I have a lot of allergies, and for whatever reason, a lot of them only developed within the past couple of years. And so I have an almond allergy, but I wanted to try it out because I was just trying to find sources of proteins, and I know that like nuts is a good source of protein, but I know that I'm for sure allergic to things like hazelnuts and peanuts, so those ones are out of the question. But almonds were something that I was able to try, so I wanted to try it again, and I discovered that I can have almond butter, and I kind of like really like almond butter.
Yeah.
So
yummy.
yeah. But a few days ago, I got my allergy shot, and I think that made me more sensitive to the things that I'm allergic to, because all of a sudden now I'm having allergic reactions to them again. So I think I have to lay low on the almonds for a little bit. And basically what happened is, I find it's hard to describe what an allergic reaction is to people who don't have food allergies.
Yeah.
The best thing I can think of is just like when you have like hay fever, or when you have a
You said
mosquito
it's like
bite.
a mosquito bite inside your
Body.
intestines or
Yeah.
something like that.
It's like your entire body's full of like mosquito bites, and that's the only way I can think of it. Fortunately, with almonds, it's not nearly the same reaction that I would get from like milk or peanuts or hazelnuts.
So the worst would be like milk, butter, peanuts, or nuts in general.
I guess so. I think nuts are the worst. Milk, I don't know why all of a sudden it became a really, really strong allergy for me. But I haven't had like a peanut allergy as far as I can tell for a while. But both of those are pretty bad for me.
Yeah, one time you had to go to the hospital. Like, you developed so strongly that you couldn't breathe, and you got like heat waves inside your body. And then I remember that you were something like milk, or I don't know, like some.
Yeah,
it contained milk. You didn't even know that, and then
what did we
you
order?
called me, and then it was from the Vietnamese food.
It wasn't the one that we usually go to though. It was a new one, wasn't it? It was. I tried this curry dish.
Yeah,
I guess it was made. It had milk or something in it.
Right, I didn't. I totally
Because
forgot about it.
those dishes can either be made with like just coconut milk, or also with milk, and I guess it was. So basically, and then your friend was over and you guys were chatting. So I had my meal, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And I think I already felt a little bit sick, but I was like, I don't want the guests to see me going through this. So I was like, okay, I have some errands to run anyway, so I'm just gonna go into the city and run my errands.
Yeah, right. And then you're like forcing yourself to finish your plate, or
I don't
or
remember.
did you stop eating?
I don't even remember. I don't know. It was like a year ago.
But it was pretty,
2 years
like, you
ago.
had a time now for a couple of months where it didn't have any sort of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But I just hope it won't get bad again.
Yeah.
I mean, or is it because you feel a lot of like stress, or do you think it has to do with your like spring allergies as well, or?
I've gotten to a habit of eating the same foods.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's because I haven't been really adventurous with the foods that I'm eating, then maybe that's why. My food is like broccoli with olive oil roasted. Lately I've been eating a lot of spinach, chickpeas, kidney beans. Then I've gotten into a toast phase.
The toast phase. And before you had a risotto phase.
Yeah, I had a risotto phase. What happened to that?
I mean, after a while you get a bit of tired from eating the same food, and then you go into the next phase.
True.
Usually.
I haven't gotten tired of roasted broccoli yet, though.
Yeah, broccoli is still there.
I love broccoli. But I don't like I actually don't mind it. I don't know if I can have raw broccoli or not. I do have an allergy to like some raw foods. So like tomatoes, I can't eat them raw.
I mean, there's stuff that your body is allergic, but then there's also stuff you just don't like, right? I mean,
I'm allergic to raw tomatoes.
Oh yeah, okay, you're okay. But you don't like salad, for instance.
I never said I was allergic to salad.
No, I mean you don't like it. That's what.
It's not that I don't like it, it's just that I don't want to bother preparing it. Because you have to take out the lettuce, you have to wash it, and then find vegetables, chop them up, put them in, and it's just so much work for something that's not even a warm meal that will make me feel full. I guess if I really I don't know, I am trying to lose a bit of weight, so if I really wanted to, I can go into the whole salad route, but at the moment I'm just not interested.
But I still admire your habits. Like, it's so you just eat for the sake of getting food, and but on the other side it's really cool because you don't have to think about what you want to eat, because in a way your selection is kind of limited. So
that's what I'm trying to get into. I still especially with me and eating toast, that's definitely not something that I'm eating for the sake of fuel, because that's the idea that you're talking about, the food is fuel idea, rather than food is something that you're supposed to
but a lot of people, they talk about, I want to do something for the environment, and I want to be more aware of what you eat. And I read this article that at least here in Germany, the meat production was rising has been rising for the last decade or so.
Has it?
And then I think it's nowadays really cool that people are actually aware of what they eat and consume, and in this way you really contribute something for our environment. I think that's so important right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's difficult though, because I do understand that the idea is that to raise animals, it has such a huge impact on the environment, and I think a lot of problems could be not a lot of problems but I think going vegetarian for a lot of people would do a lot of help for the environment, because of the amount of greenhouse gas that it produces and the amount of water that has to be produced or cleaned and stuff like that to take care of these animals and stuff, when you could just directly eat vegetables from the source. But I do understand that it's a huge change for people, because food isn't just fuel for a lot of people. It's this social aspect, it's a cultural aspect. And exactly, I do acknowledge that by me being vegan, I have had to reject a lot of these things. And it sucks, because I understand what food means to other people, and for me to be oh, sorry, no, I don't want to take part in that.
When we met, I just have to say that you turned vegetarian and then vegan, but that process was so fast. I'm still so amazed by how other people would just be maybe I'm gonna become vegan or so, but you did it snap, within a couple of days, I think, or weeks, you said, okay, I'm thinking about becoming vegan, and then you just did it.
I think it was
decision making. It's really something here.
I guess it wasn't impulsive. I had thought about it for a while, but I knew for me that not having meat was a difficult switch. But when I lived back in Canada, I did know a couple of vegetarians and vegans, and I liked the idea of it. But for me, I was just I can't do it. It's good that you can do it, but I can't do it. And then when I moved to Germany, now I had to start buying my own food, and just out of what's the word I'm looking for? For what's practical, I didn't buy a lot of meat. The only time I ate meat was when our company would eat at the canteen for lunch. Mm-hmm. because the company paid for our food. So that was the only time that I was really eating meat. And otherwise I would eat like cheese and eggs and like milk and stuff like that, like the cheaper things, I guess. So once I started watching YouTube videos about vegetarianism and veganism because I was interested in it, that's when I was like, okay, well, if I just try vegetarian, then that's not too hard based on how I'm living at the moment.
Yeah.
So although it really was like, yes, I'm going to be vegetarian, I'm now vegetarian. I still gave myself that allowance to be like, okay, if I do end up eating, if I do go to like someone's place and they are offering meat, then I'll eat it.
How often did it happen? Like you
would still eat meat?
If you get...
I think at maybe your aunt's place, but I can't remember. But you know what? It did get a little bit unhealthy for me emotionally because I remember when I finally made the switch to being vegan, there was a time I was hanging out with my friend and I brought her to the airport. We decided to get lunch and we got, so I didn't know what this thing that I was ordering is. I think it was a fladenbrot or something.
Plain bread or...
But it comes with cheese on top.
Fake cheese? No, not real cheese or...
Real cheese.
Oh, okay.
And like...
Fladenbrot? Okay.
Maybe I think I'm thinking of a different word. It's like pizza but with just like plain cheese.
Calzone or...
No. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I don't remember the name, but it's basically a pizza with no sauce, just cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like really I was new to this whole vegan thing, and I felt like I was being a failure to this sort of like community of people by eating this pizza thing. But I ate it anyways because I didn't want to like waste it. And I had like an emotional breakdown, and I felt so bad because my friend had to deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like...
Yeah.
And that was something...
Where was it again? We were traveling
No, it wasn't you and me. It was me and my friend Katie.
Yeah.
And I just felt so bad because it was like I was making so much of a fuss over something that it was like the fear of something that doesn't actually exist. So it was me fearing that people would judge me, and even though it was just me like doing my thing.
Yeah, was it more... I mean, I like you made this commitment. You are not... Mm-hmm. You're a vegan now, and then was more like your disappointment of your own flaws or like you... Yeah. Yeah,
and I felt horrible for it. And so I think the fact that I am allergic to milk and eggs now has made it a lot easier for me to say no to when people offer me food. But yeah, it was very difficult because you don't want to be that person who's pushing your like agenda, whatever. It's not really an agenda, it's just me. But like, you don't want to be that, oh, sorry, like I don't eat that, I'm vegan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think...
But you never did that. I mean, for my...
Oh, I feel like I did when I first started.
You never like preach on being vegan. I remember you mentioned some people that are like, yeah, I'm like trying to like convert people into veganism. But I think you never like pushed anybody. You're not like... When people ask you, you tell your story, you tell your background, but I feel you never ever would want to make somebody uncomfortable for the way how they eat food. I mean, I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I try to eat less meat now, but you never made me feel guilty or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think that is very important for this whole topic on like if you want to change people. I think it's never a good thing that you are actively seeking to change somebody, because the main reason is somebody has to do it on his own agenda and not being like it has to be intrinsically motivated. There should be like a purpose why you're doing it. And just watch like what video you watching this cows Conspiracy?
I did
maybe?
watch it, but this was after I had already changed, like,
Okay.
became vegan.
What
It
was like the turning point where you say, okay, no, I'm not gonna be eating any more meat, or is there any like main influence?
Yeah, I think I watched Freely the Banana Girl when she was like at her peak. It did, her channel did become a little bit strange for me after a while, but yeah, as much as I am a little bit skeptical to admit it, yeah, I think it was her channel that really got me into this, because she was really promoting this, okay, you just eat a lot of fruit, and like being vegan doesn't mean you're cutting things out of your life. It means that you're embracing other parts, other foods and stuff like that. And I got into this really it was like shopping for fruits and vegetables became almost like an adventure for me, because I would go to different markets and try to find different fruits that I haven't had before. And yeah,
You made banana bread.
I made a lot of banana bread, and then I would even like buy fresh figs. I would buy dragon fruit. I bought jackfruit, durian. I brought.
That is exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
We went to the library, and like the whole
I regret
library.
this.
Where Durham is like the
Durian
worst
is a stinky
fruit ever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you go to, I find that whenever you go to like an Asian store and you have this like really like musky smell, that's probably the durian. But now I think that was the only time that they had a store have it out in the open. But now the Asian store that I go to currently, they keep theirs in a freezer or the fridge or something. Like they put it in a separate part.
Yeah, I think I heard also like on planes they are like locked away now because people kept complaining on this smell.
Really?
And, yeah, I think
I know
so.
that it's illegal to bring it around with you on the streets in some places because of the smell.
Yeah, maybe in Singapore or one of these really British countries in terms of regulations, it's not allowed to eat it in public or something like.
Yeah.
That was like a small side note.
Yeah, not like eating, but like you can't have it because it smells so bad. But it tastes good. I don't think you liked it though, did you?
I tried it when I was in Asia, in Malaysia, I think, before. So I kind of knew it, but when we had it here, it was just like...
You didn't like it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit different when you eat it in a more tropical country, which has more like originality to it, more like you have like this... humidity, it's pretty high, and then you have some fresh food, and then actually I feel like the smell is going away faster there. And
yeah.
Whereas here, where you're more inside, because like the weather is a bit more makes you stay inside of buildings, then you're probably more likely to have the smell inside. So. But going back to this vegetarianism, what do you think so far about Germany, or Europe, in comparison to Canada, for instance?
I think veganism and vegetarianism is very, very popular in Germany. I feel my impression of Germans in terms of their diet is very split. You have the people who really, really enjoy having meat.
Yeah, this barbecue culture.
Not barbecue, but this like so like your typical German food is like this big thing of pork or whatever, is it? Yeah. What is it called? It's like this big bone. It's not flat even. It's just like this big like.
We have a lot of like, the kitchen is based on meat, I would say.
Yeah, so I find that like there's the people who really love meat, and then you have the vegetarians who are like the opposite. Veganism is something that's still pretty new. I would say it is becoming more popular, but
I'm more vegans here than in Canada. We looked it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But in terms of like when I go to restaurants and stuff, it's still not as easy to find like vegan restaurants and stuff like that. I think at least in my city, maybe it's just because we're in Aachen, which is like a smaller city.
Smaller place, yeah.
But in my home city, that there's a lot of selection for vegan foods, not just at the grocery store, but like going to stores, like restaurants or cafes that have like vegan products. And I would like to see that more. I know that there are some here, but a lot of the cases they have like nuts or soy, and I can't have either of those.
And from all the places we've been to, what was the most advanced in terms of vegan? Like where was it like the biggest variety, the biggest community, the best food?
For vegans?
Yep.
Like when we're traveling or what?
In general. Yeah, like us traveling together.
I think in well, also because it depends, because we were also just like eating different foods. I think in London or like in Great Britain, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, London was really cool. And Paris, for instance, you found it a bit harder, right? I remember.
I don't even remember. I remember I wrote down in French all the ingredients that I was allergic to.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember we came back from the Palace of Versailles, and we decided to stop at an Italian restaurant for like food for lunch. And then I had this list in French, and I gave it to the guy, and he was like, oh, lo, 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 lo. He's like, I will see what I can do. And but they managed, like they were really accommodating, and that was really nice. They managed to get me a pizza with no cheese on it, so it's just like pizza sauce.
Yeah, in Versailles that was pretty good. I remember the food. But London, I remember you were pretty enthusiastic about like.
Yeah, it was really easy, I think, in London.
We went to this cupcake. Vegan cupcake.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's Cupcakes by Gemma. She has a YouTube channel. That's why we went there.
All right, yeah.
Because I had been watching her channel for a while, and I was like, oh, I want to check out her place. And yeah.
Edinburgh was also good.
Edinburgh's good. I can't remember. Oh yeah, they did have vegan cupcakes there as well during this like little farmers market.
Yeah, they were the farmers market.
Yeah, I don't really eat that many like vegan foods that often, but I think that also just has to do with money and like I don't know, practicality. I did try to get into this like hobby of making vegan food, but it's just so much effort. I think people have this impression that being vegan means that you have to have a lot of money. Maybe. But I think before, like, you just don't know it, and then it's portrayed as something like, yeah, you have to be a certain community. But for me, like, experiencing it as like a co-vegan or like a proxy, it's much easier than I thought. I think I got. For me, I got rid of this stereotype of the vegan is trying to convert somebody. The vegan was trying to talk people into something they don't want to do, or doing something that is more like aesthetic, or something like people are trying to buy. Aesthetic, you mean? I mean aesthetic, isn't that the right word? Are you talking about like appearance and beauty and stuff? Like a monk. It's aesthetic, I think. I don't know. Like a monk who lives like very like focused on like small. It's kind of like this minimalism. Okay. I think that in German the word is asketisch, so maybe I just made it into an English word. I don't know. Anyway, no, it also could just be my vocabulary. Go ahead. And yeah, so I found that all these stereotypes are actually not true. I mean, I experienced it firsthand on a daily basis, and I think it's really is also something that a lot of people have these food allergies right now, so it's getting more and more. So, and the second aspect, what I find really interesting and meaningful is to do something against like climate change and stuff like that. So, I kind of worry about the whole climate change. I read something yesterday that was pretty insane. It was a long. I like to read these long articles, and they were asking like in general like these questions like what is going on? Why is politics not able to keep up? And so one of the main guys who invented this 2% goal to or not this goal but like threshold. Yeah, this is in the Paris Climate Treaties.
They are trying to limit it to Celsius degree.
Wait. Okay, so like what I understand is that like there was like this 2 degrees increase, like fear that once
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's not a goal. It's the opposite of what we want.
Yeah, maybe I put it wrongly. I mean, it's this staying below this 2% of warming, because that would be devastating for the climate. Anyway, the pioneer, or the guy who was pushing for it, he's actually a German called Jürgen Schellenhuber. And so there were 3 persons that were giving their perspectives, and he said, I think that when you would want to take it seriously, you would have to plant every year forests of the size of Germany. So until 2030, there should be newly planted forests, because the forest keeps the CO2 emissions, kind of like binds them. And so there should be a forest size comparable to Europe to 2030. So that was one of the scenario. The other one was you can do it by lock the emissions into and put it into like a stone, like permeable stones, for instance. And then they compared it to how much would we need to put somewhere like the CO2 that is already out, and they said it's like the size of a huge mountain every year. Like where would you put it?
Yeah.
And the third of these scenarios would be that I think there is a possible way to limit it, which means that especially in the Amazon, they would just keep it. Like they would just not continue to the deforestation of the Amazon rivers, and even that would be reduce the climate raise only 0.3%, I think. So these scenarios, it's very scary, and they said that maybe only the last 150 years we did so much for our climate, like that was bad. And then there was also another scientist, and she was claiming that before you couldn't see any impact of humans for the climate. The only impact they had was the Mongols, because when the Mongols were raiding and there was big forests like growing, so the climate changed and it got cooler. But that's the only impact that you can
in
history you can observe from humans. So
yeah,
afterwards, like industrialization, 150 years, that is pretty sobering look, and also really hard to deal with for our generation. I think
I always like worry about the future generations that are coming up, because like they're dealing with the consequences of our actions. I think that's like a common theme with like a lot of things in politics, is just like the next generations dealing with the choices made by the future, like the previous generations. But yeah, I feel like planting trees isn't the solution. It's like you have to stop doing a lot of things that are happening right now. Things that I can think of are like fast fashion, for example, the idea of, or even the way that technology is created, it's made in the way that they want it to become obsolete within a couple of years.
Yeah, I like this, how's it called, like this product obsolescence?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact term, but I know what you're talking about.
Like you just basically throw it away, like with these headphones, where like you buy Bose headphones and then you can basically throw them away after like 500 charges. Yeah,
like what I was talking with I tutor a girl every week, and we were talking about this because this was one of her topics for her school.
They're dealing in school with that? They're
talking about it, like how what's it called? E-pollution, or I can't remember what it's called. But just the amount of like garbage and stuff that's generated from electronics that are meant to be disposable. I know like Apple had this huge controversy because I had an iPhone for a while, and then they came with an update, and all of a sudden my phone I had to charge it all the time. And it was because the update that they added made it so that, whether it was on purpose or not, I don't know if it's confirmed. I don't know. But they made some changes that were optimized for the newer products. And by doing this optimization, it really took a hit on the older versions of iPhone, which forced people to abandon those phones and try to and buy the new one.
That is like just producing, getting new products out.
I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if it was confirmed that it was what they were doing, because I think that's illegal. But this,
or with the chargers. I mean, this one would be a positive example where they changed the policy that every major smartphone producer, they had different like chargers, even though they could like unify it.
Yeah, one thing that's so frustrating. Go ahead, sorry, I interrupted you.
Now they made it like you can use it one charger for multiple phones. So
this like micro USB thing.
The micro USB.
Yeah. One thing that frustrated me with my old phones is that the only problem was the fact that the battery wouldn't last, and I just wanted to change the battery. But in terms of costs, it cost more. Like the price to replace the battery when it's not just like those easily dismountable ones, it didn't pay off, and I was better off just getting a new phone, which is what I did. And it's really frustrating when you have a phone that works perfectly fine and all you have to do is replace the battery, but it's too expensive to do that.
Yeah,
I am trying to get into this more of like a sustainable way of doing things. So even when it comes to clothes, I'm trying to buy things that are more expensive but made to last. I would definitely like to get more into fair trade.
You bought these shoes that are...
I love those shoes.
They're really good. Like,
I don't know how to say it. Veia?
Veia?
It's a Portuguese brand, I think. Or your brother even has a pair of them.
Oh, yeah.
Your mom told me.
Mm-hmm.
They are a vegan fair trade company. And yeah, so...
So we have when we are worried about climate change, we do have choices as consumers. So we said we can change the way what we eat, our food. But if you don't want to like change that, at least you can change the way what you buy certain brands, or maybe you can even just buy less. I mean, capitalism is all made for like productivity, which is in some subjects or some matters really good, but I think for these basic stuff, also where it is produced and then it's shipped all over the world, it has such a bad like CO2 footprint. And I think also I often think also what worries me from my own behavior, I've been traveling so much. I just love traveling so much. I've been to Russia, to the US, and Canada and Mexico, and it's then you have got this Instagram lifestyle. You want to show the world that you have traveled and that you know a bunch of people, and then it's just like this lifestyle is so cool. But on the other side, it is also like a threat to our planet. So I think politics should do something to make this more. With the CO2 tax, for instance, they are talking about, if you might have heard about that, that you tax everything that is on the whole like CO2 production, and then maybe flights would get a bit more expensive, or you compensate on buying like rainforest or something like that. I think that should be implemented more from the politics, because if you have the choice, I think people would rather not do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like how we are.
That's capitalism.
It's
frustrating. Yeah, I think finding out how much pollution was created from from airplanes was really hard for me to like hear about, because like you, I also love traveling, and I think aviation has just brought so many opportunities to be able to see people or see
you've
places.
got so much like interconnections now. I mean, you're from Canada and I'm from Germany. Without the aviation we wouldn't even have met, right? So.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's that's why I find it difficult to like cope with that idea. But like, what are we supposed to do? Are you supposed to just like stay home and stay where you are and not do anything?
No, I think that mainly there are options, like whether it's like new technologies. For instance, I read something really hopeful about like this company Beyond Meat that does like artificial meat. I mean, meat production is huge in terms of CO2 emissions. So when they really manage to have meat that tastes like it's cell meat, for instance, like Beyond Meat, I think they produce, it's not like artificial meats, but they use cell meats that are mainly generated within like the laboratory, so you can just call it lab meat or whatever. But I think it's that is, even now, like for a meat eater it sounds weird, but I would definitely eat that. Why not? Because like the whole thing about like cattle and that produces the methane and the emissions. So if you do it like from this lab meat, then yeah, why not? Like I would, if it even tastes the same, like there are only benefits for that.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think like for me, I personally don't really have this need to have like fake meats and stuff like that. It's something more that's like something extra for me. But I think if it's something that will get people to think about what they're consuming, because it's just like, okay, this fake meat, whoa, it's weird. I think that's cool for people to try and be like, oh, okay, so it actually does taste like meat, or no, it doesn't taste like meat. But I think it's good to kind of get people to think about what they're what they're consuming, and like why is there a need to make this fake meat? Is it just a gimmick, or is there like a message that they're trying to send? But yeah, I think I can't remember, I think I saw on Facebook some people were asking if people, I guess there's a store or something there that has this sort of like fake meat.
And in Germany or
in Canada, and I think it's supposed to be super convincing, but I haven't. I
think in the US it's already there.
Yeah,
I mean, this company Beyond Meat is very huge already.
Yeah.
And,
but is it only in one location, or do they have multiple locations?
I don't know. I just read that a lot of the celebrities like Leo DiCaprio, they are investing into this company already. So it's kind of like they're hoping for the big IPO. But in this, or they're going to the stock market. But I think in this case it's cool because I think it's like Facebook or Uber, and then they are trying to have it like, it has to be a bit of like a hype around this whole product, and then people, there is like this cycle, like like they're doing a lot of money, they have innovations and products, and maybe then I think that this is like a sliver of hope in our lives and the way that we live, that we can produce meat from the lab and from sources that are differently than like putting animals into these like tiny cages and feeding them all the antibiotics.
Yeah, but I think it's also important to mention that like not all farms are like this caged, overcramped style, the ones that you see in those like documentaries that are promoting veganism. Like you do have things like grass-fed cows, like the bio or like organic stuff where the animals are kept happy. I
don't see so many in Germany though.
Really? Like, but there are in Germany there are quite a few farms where the cows are.
There are some, but I think the mass are still like in these. I remember I read this Yuval Harari book, Homo. Was it Sapiens? Probably, or Deus? No, it was Sapiens. And I really love the way how he writes. He's very like, without being preachy, it tells this interesting story about how we evolved, and then in the end he comes to the conclusion that okay, we abandoned like mostly like the war. I like there were not like major wars, but for the future he says like maybe the biggest sins of our post World War generation would be how we are treating animals. And that kind of sticked in my brain still, like how he describes and how he comes to the upshot, and it made me think so much. Yeah, maybe it is really a crime how we deal with animals and how we are like changing these creatures, how we are dealing with it. It's maybe future generations will look back at us with disgust and say, wow, what they did was really not good. But
well, like I guess yeah, I don't mind to be like, okay, I'm not trying to like convince you to change anything, but with you having this information, what is keeping you on this omnivorous diet?
I think it's mainly, I feel sometimes more like I did vegan days where we had food together, and I'm also trying to eat more vegetarian, but sometimes I think it's really, to be honest, I really think it's how you've been raised. When you're raised like growing up with a lot of meat, then I think your brain is, I think mainly like also physiological stance, or not stand, like a physiological state of your brain. Like I think there is something neurobiological that your brain feels more satiated, but I think that you can always change it. So yeah, like my goal would be to have less meat for sure. And when I would just buy it, as you said, like from happy grassland cows.
I was actually quite impressed that at least in the girl that I tutor, her school, they talk about this. Like they talk about the impact of like the meat industry on the environment, and I don't even remember learning about this when I was a kid.
Me too. Like we didn't have it. So
I was really like impressed that they're talking about the environment so much in their classes. So that was really cool.
That's really cool.
I don't know if that's the norm in all of Germany, but if it is, I think that's really nice.
I think Germans are very aware of like the environment. There's always been like the German, like not going back into the history, but the Germans always had the like being close to the nature and stuff like that. It's just like very important. That's why now I'm a bit disappointed because we are not like these pioneers anymore. Some countries are more advanced. I think we talked in the first or second podcast that when you do look at the main statistics, Germany is like falling even a bit behind. But yeah, I think that still like the awareness is there and the willingness to change is just there. Like I think younger people, our generation is just very aware of these topics. We are more connected. We just have more access also to other people and other sources. We can look up stuff on YouTube and podcasts, and yeah, I think it's just getting more and more into this sphere where this global conscience is just influencing us and how we behave and how we think. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I'm getting pretty tired. Do you want to call it a day?
We call it a day. I think that is also a positive thing that we can finish this podcast without drama, without a foot cramp.
Yet,
yeah. We've come from the floor now with a new arm to above sea level now.
Above sea level. Yeah, like before we first started recording our podcast, just to like avoid any problems with sound, we were sitting on the floor, but now I bought this like studio arm to hold my microphone up, so now we're sitting on a couch.
Hopefully the sound is better.
I don't think it'll change the sound. I think it'll just change how comfortable we are.
True. And not having any more foot cramps, because that was really painful.
Yeah, that was like the third time or something in a row that it's happened.
Yeah. No more foot cramps. Just couching. Vibing on the couch.
Good vibes.
Good vibes, guys. Keep it.
Good vibes, guys. Around the couch. All right, that's it for today then.
Okay, guys.
All right, talk to you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.